Hey, sixth graders. Hope everybody's doing well. We are now on the last skill of lesson 4.2. And remember, lesson 4.2 is all about solving algebraic equations, right? So the first skill that we learned was solving algebraic equations that have variables on one side of the equal sign. The second skill that we learned how to do was solving algebraic equations that had variables on both sides of the equal sign. And that was where we needed to be able to move one of the variable terms onto the side as the other one so that we could combine like terms. And that's also where I gave you the tip to move the variable that has the coefficient with the lower value. And that's just a tip that I use that I find is pretty successful. But again, that second skill was about having variables on both sides of the equations and how you would then consolidate, because at the end of the game, the goal is to be able to isolate the variable. So the third skill that we're doing in practice 4.2 is to solve algebraic equations that are in factored form. So right now I'm on page 208, example C. So I would pause the video, make sure you have your textbook handy and scrap paper handy with a pencil, because you will be doing practice problems on Edpuzzle after I explain how to do each one. So pause the video, grab a book, open up to page 208, example C, and look at this problem. And so if you've got the book, you're probably saying, why is she starting on example C? Because you're able to see that on pages 207, this skill actually starts. And example A has fractions, example B has decimals, and example C has integers. So I'm starting with C because I actually think integers are the easiest way for you to do the math, right? And you're learning a new skill, so I want to make it easier on you. So we're going to start with integers. Then I feel like decimals are kind of the next easy step. And then I think probably the hardest is fractions. So I'm actually going to go from example C, B, and A, just so that you're able to follow along. All right, so why is this a factored equation? Well, I've got 2x, right? That's totally normal and fine. But then I've got this plus 5 times 2x, plus 5 times 2 minus x equals 40. So the factored aspect that we have is right here with these terms, right? And we've learned the difference between a factored expression and an expanded expression. So right now this is factored because we've got 5 outside of the parentheses. But we need to do the opposite right now and expand it, because once we expand it, then we can start combining like terms and isolating for the variable. So step 1 in a factored problem is to expand. So we're going to rewrite 2x because that is just staying the same right now. We're not doing anything with that. Plus positive 5 times positive 2 is positive 10. Positive 5 times negative x. A positive times a negative is a negative. 5 times 1 is 5, and then you have your x, equals 40. So I've done step 1. I have expanded the factored expression, and I have expanded it correctly. So my next step will be, I'm going to rewrite these so that the variables are side by side. I'm just going to regroup these. Some of you are like, I don't need to do that. I can do it in my head. I want you to do it because there's lots of opportunities to make mistakes. So 2x, I've written that one, minus 5x, I've written that one, plus 10, I've written that one, equals 40. And I even recommend you make those little check marks so you don't forget anything and you've written your signs correctly. 2x minus 5x. Well, 2 minus 5 is negative 3, and negative 3x. So 2x minus 5x is negative 3x, plus 10. Again, I'm not just doing this in my head. I'm writing out every single step. So now I want to isolate the variable. I want to isolate negative 3. So I've got to get rid of this positive 10. What is the opposite of positive 10? Negative 10, right? Because 10 minus 10 is going to be equal to 0. So we will be able to have isolated the negative 3x alone. But if I have negative 10 on the left side, I need to do it on the right side. And now I'm going to write my negative 3x equals 40 minus 10 is 30. But I'm not done because I have a coefficient and I need to get x alone. I need to get x equal to 1x. So how do I get rid of negative 3x? and have it equal to positive x? Well, I'm going to divide negative 3x by negative 3, right? Because a negative divided by a negative is a positive, and 3 divided by 3 is 1. So by doing that, I will have 1x. But if I divide by negative 3 on this side, I need to divide by negative 3 on the other side. And then I've got my positive x equals, well, positive 30 divided by negative 3. So positive divided by a negative is a negative. 30 divided by 3 is 10. So my answer is that x equals negative 10. But I'm going to use my phone calculator just to check that I've done this correctly. And once you've done all this work, I really do want you to substitute so I don't have a problem on your practice work if you are substituting with your calculator. So I'm going to substitute negative 10 in for x. And I'm going to do it with this step because it's been expanded. So let's see if it works. 2 times negative, oh, that negative didn't work. So 2 times negative 10 equals negative 20. And then I have plus 10, so negative 20 plus 10, negative 10. All right, so I have negative 10 here, but then I have negative 5x. So negative 5 times negative 10, negative times a negative is a positive, and 5 times 10 is 50. So this is actually positive 50. So negative 10 plus 50 is 40. And is 40 equal to 40? Yes, so I know I did it correctly. All right, I'm going to give you one to try right now on Edpuzzle.